Here is your full long-form story with a strong hook, emotional depth, smooth pacing, and 2 full chapters, no headings, only plain paragraphs, just as you asked. A scream cut through the wind. Mark didn't think, he simply ran. One moment he was watching his daughter build sandcastles on the quiet evening beach, and the next he was sprinting into the freezing waves toward the woman whose hand had just slipped beneath the surface. He had no idea that saving her would change everything he believed about love, luck, and the life he thought he was meant to live. He also had no idea that the woman he pulled from the ocean that night would look at him like he was the miracle she had been waiting for. The waves hit him hard, each one colder than the last. But he pushed forward, diving under until he caught her arm and hauled her up. She coughed violently, collapsing against him with trembling breaths. Her eyes were wide, deep, frightened, but something about them was also warm. Trusting. Grateful. Once they reached the shore, his daughter Lily ran toward them with her small towel, trying to help cover the trembling stranger. Mark laid the woman carefully onto the sand. She looked exhausted, but even in the dim, fading sunset, Mark noticed her elegance, her posture, her jewelry, her entire presence hinted that she came from a world far from his. "Can you hear me?" he asked. She nodded weakly, shivering. I didn't think anyone saw me." "I did," he said softly. "You're safe now." She stared at him for a long second, breath uneven. "Thank you." "I would've." She couldn't finish the sentence. Mark offered a reassuring smile. "It's okay. You're here. That's what matters." But as she tried to sit up, pain shot across her face. I think I twisted my ankle in the current." Mark immediately lifted her, carried her to the small lifeguard bench, and set her gently down. Lily sat beside her, handing her a tiny seashell as if it were some kind of cure-all treasure. The woman smiled softly at the gesture, brushing a tear from her eye. "What's your name?" Mark asked. She hesitated only for a moment. "Elena." He didn't know he'd just saved the Elena Hart, the billionaire philanthropist known across the world but nearly unrecognizable tonight, hidden behind a simple sundress and no entourage. All he knew was that she looked at him like she wasn't ready to let him walk away. Later, after getting her safely to her hotel lobby, Elena insisted he let her repay him. Mark shook his head. "You owe me nothing. Anyone would have helped." Her gaze softened. "But not everyone would have risked their life without hesitation." He shrugged lightly, embarrassed. "I'm a dad. Risking my life is basically my job." She laughed, a beautiful sound that Mark didn't expect to affect him as deeply as it did. Before she entered the elevator, Elena looked at him again, almost nervously. "Will I see you again?" He didn't know she rarely asked that question to anyone. "Maybe," he said, smiling softly. "Be careful near the ocean from now on." The elevator doors slid shut, and for the rest of the night, Elena couldn't stop replaying the moment his arms had wrapped around her in the waves, strong, steady, absolute. She didn't know anything about him except that she felt safe with him, something she hadn't felt in years. She wanted to know him, she needed to know him, but Mark walked home believing he'd never see her again. He was wrong. Chapter 1. Mark returned to his routine the next day, waking Lily up for school, going to his job at the small repair shop, juggling bills, smiling when he didn't feel like it. Life as a single dad didn't leave space for miracles or surprises. His world was small but steady, but Elena's world was the opposite, fast, loud, constantly watched. She canceled her morning meetings, still shaken from the near drowning. Her assistant begged her to rest, but Elena wasn't thinking about business. She was thinking about the man who had carried her like she weighed nothing and the child who'd handed her a seashell with a smile big enough to warm the whole beach. She needed to find him. She had a name, Mark, father of a little girl named Lily. But no last name. No contact. No clue. So she walked the beach again, this time guarded, scanning the shoreline, hoping. Hours passed. Nothing. She didn't give up. The next day she returned. Still nothing. By the third day, Elena had almost accepted defeat. She sat on the same lifeguard bench she'd placed her on, holding Lily's seashell in her hand like a strange, fragile compass. Then she saw him. He was helping Lily fly a small kite, laughing when the wind jerked it sideways. The sight knocked the breath out of her, relief first, then something she couldn't yet name. She approached slowly, and Lily noticed her first. "The lady from the water," the girl exclaimed. Mark turned and froze. "Elena," he breathed. She smiled gently. "I was hoping I'd find you." "Why?" he asked, genuinely puzzled. because you saved my life," she said softly. "And because I didn't want that to be the end of our story." Mark felt a strange warmth spread across his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced since before Lily's mother left their lives years ago. But he kept his voice steady. "You're okay now, that's what matters." Elena's eyes shimmered. "It's not the only thing that matters." She spent the whole afternoon with them, helping Lily collect shells, walking with Mark along the shoreline, talking like they'd known each other for years. She never told him who she truly was. For once, she wanted to be just Elena, not the billionaire with headlines and expectations, but as the sun dipped low, she realized something else. She wasn't just grateful to Mark, she was drawn to him. The more they talked, the more she learned about his struggles, working 2 jobs, skipping meals so Lily never had to, dreams he'd buried under responsibility. He didn't complain, he simply lived. Quietly. Strongly. Humbly, Elena felt something shift inside her, something deep and unexpected. She wasn't falling for a hero, she was falling for a good man. Chapter 2. On the 7th day of seeing each other, everything changed. Elena showed up at the beach with a confession trembling on her lips. "Mark, there's something you don't know about me." He looked at her curiously. "Okay, I'm not just Elena." She took a slow breath. "I'm Elena Hart." Mark blinked, not immediately recognizing the name. "Hart, like Hart Enterprises?" She nodded. He went silent. She rushed to explain. "I didn't tell you because I wanted you to see me, not the world I come from." Mark swallowed hard. "Elena, you're a billionaire." "I'm still the woman you pulled from the waves," she whispered. "I'm still the woman Lily gave a seashell to." That part was real. He didn't know what to say. It wasn't jealousy or anger that hit him, it was fear. Fear of losing something he never expected to find in Elena. "Your world and mine? They don't match." She stepped closer. "They do to me." But Mark shook his head slowly. "People like me don't end up with people like you." Elena felt her heart twist. "Mark, I didn't fall for people like you. I fell for you." The world seemed to pause. Wind. Waves. Silence. Her words sank into him deeper than any wave he'd fought that night. But still, he hesitated. He had a daughter to protect. A simple life. A fragile piece. "I don't want to be a chapter you regret," he murmured. Elena reached for his hand. "Then let me prove I won't be." Over the days that followed, she did. She visited him at the repair shop, not caring about the oil stains or the smell of metal. She helped Lily with homework. She listened to Mark talk about dreams he'd buried. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, Mark let his guard down. He realized Elena didn't love him despite his life, she loved him because of who he was within it. And so, on a quiet evening after Lily had fallen asleep, Mark stood with Elena on the same beach where they first met. The sunset painted her face in soft gold, and the waves whispered like they remembered everything. "Elena," he said gently, "I don't know what the future looks like." She smiled. "No one does. But I know what I feel when I'm with you," he admitted, and, she whispered. He took her hands. "And I think I'm ready to stop running from the things that scare me." The relief in her eyes was brighter than any sunrise. She stepped closer. "Then let's write the rest of the story together." Mark smiled, finally, fearlessly. Together. The waves rolled in softly, almost approvingly, as he kissed her for the first time, slow, warm, and full of everything they'd both been missing. In the end, the ocean didn't almost take Elena's life. It gave her one worth saving, and it gave Mark a love he never thought he deserved, but finally accepted. A love strong enough to pull them both from the waves.